This will be a quick look at the different types of administrators in SBM, and we will focus in on common problems for managed administrators. There are three types of administrators in SBM. The system administrator is what most people think of when they hear the word administrator. They have full access and can make any changes to any application in SBM. Managed administrators, on the other hand, are granted access to only specific applications. These administrators can typically add projects, create notifications, or assign roles for a specific application and not for other applications. Global administrators are in the middle. These administrators are also limited to a subset of applications, but they have a little more permissions and access in the repository than a managed administrator. It would be nice if there was a simple option box to designate someone as a specific type of administrator, but there's not. Instead, users are given special privileges, and those privileges determine what type of administrator they are. The combination of a user having regular user product access as well as the remote administration privilege is what gives the system administrator all their access. Managed administrators have the managed administrator product access. This is what limits them to only specific projects. They also get the remote administration privilege, which gives them access to the application administrator tool. A global administrator has the same setup as a managed administrator, but they also have the global administration privilege. This allows them to create new applications as well as create, edit, configure, and delete environments in the repository. When working with administrators, easily the number one most common problem we see is that the administrator is set up as a managed administrator when they should be set up as a system administrator. Usually, this shows itself because the administrator can see all other projects and groups and tables, but they cannot see a new project group or table. If an administrator normally sees all items and should not be limited to specific items, then that administrator should be a system administrator rather than a managed administrator. The next most common problem is that a managed administrator has access to projects, groups, and tables, but now they're responsible for a new project group or table, and they need to be given access. Both of these issues are configuration changes in SBM, so let's jump over to SBM and take a look. The most common problem we see is that an SBM administrator is set up as a managed administrator when they should be a system administrator. This setup is done using privileges, so let's take a look at that. We're going to use Bill as our example. He is a managed administrator right now. If we open up Bill's user record, we can scroll down to the product access area. We see that he is a managed administrator. He is not a system administrator. If he should be a system administrator instead, we would want to change this to be a regular user. We also need to go into the privilege section under System and make sure that he has the remote administration privilege. Being a regular user and having remote administration privilege makes them a system administrator. If Bill needed to be a global administrator, we would look on the system screen and go to the global administration privilege. The combination of Bill having managed administrator and also having the global administration privilege would make him a global administrator. This would allow him to create new applications as well as edit, configure, and delete environments in the repository. For now, let's leave Bill as a managed administrator and take a look at the other common issues. The second most common problem is that a managed administrator has access to one project or group, but now they need access to more projects. So let's take a look at that. Just to double check, we are still using Bill, and if we scroll down, he is set up as a managed administrator. Because he is a managed administrator, he will have this extra administration screen at the bottom of his list. So we're going to click on Administration. This is the screen where we can give a managed administrator the extra privileges they need. There are several categories in here. For example, under System, we can give this user privileges to add groups, edit users, add users, these types of options. If Bill needed access to additional projects, we would need to go under Projects. At the top of the screen, we can see each of our projects. By selecting a project, we will see the different privileges for that project. In this example, Bill has full privileges to the IM project. But if we look at the IDM project, he does not have privileges here. If Bill should be an administrator of the IDM project also, we would need to give privileges. The other screens are similar. If we look at workflow, we can see the list of workflows at the top, and we can see the privileges at the bottom. So each workflow can be given different privileges. Bill is the administrator for the incident management workflow, so he has privileges to this workflow only. If he needed more privileges, you would just select that workflow and give him extra privileges. The field screen is very similar with the projects on top and the privileges on the bottom. For groups, we would select the group screen, and then we will see a list of all of the groups in the system. And then we just need to check the boxes for the groups that Bill needs to be the administrator for. Similarly, we have the table screen. On the table screen, all the tables in the system are listed. If Bill needs to be an administrator for one of these tables, we just need to check the box and give him access to those tables. There are also privileges associated with deployment. If Bill needs to be able to update the process app using Composer and then deploy, there are different privileges here for those activities. Finally, we have the Log On as Another User screen. On this screen, we are specifying which users Bill is able to log on as. Bill is the administrator for the incident management project, so he has privileges to impersonate any users who are a member of the incident management groups. If Bill needed to be able to impersonate other users, we could either add users using this option at the bottom, or add more groups to his list using this option. That completes our overview of SBM administrators and the common problems with managed administrators.